The New Life Church was in a beautiful location just north of the city of Canby on the corner of Territorial Road and Highway 99E. There was a lot of woods around, and in fact, there was an area that was just all trees, pretty much. Just next to us, we had about, I think, something like 3 acres. And there was a real interest in acquiring the 11 acres that was attached to it, contiguous, some of which was on the same level, others it kind of went up to a little bluff. And it was owned by somebody, we didn't really know who it was, and we had a realtor in the church, Elroy was looking into that. And we were hoping at some point to be able to purchase the land. And so at this time at Canby, I would go up to Portland State University. I was taking a class in a master's in Middle East Studies, and I was taking Arabic and a couple other courses on Islam. And I was up at the Portland State University doing this, and I was driving home one afternoon, and I just felt like the Lord speak to me and say that the person who owned the property was actually going to contact us, and that he was going to make a deal that I was not to refuse. Okay. So I thought, well, if that's not true, I don't have to tell anybody. But if it is true, isn't that cool? So I got to the office at the church, and the secretary, one of the secretaries was Diane was leaving and putting a note on the door. And when she saw me, she goes, "Oh, Pastor, you'll never guess who called." And I said, "Was it the doctor who owns the land that's next to us?" And she goes, "How do you know?" I said, "Well, the Lord told me." She said, "Well, that's not fair." I said, "Well, you have his number?" "Yes." I went to the church, I called him, and he had been down and actually talked to her face to face, but was going back up to Portland. He was actually a professor at Portland State University. So I called him. He said, "Yeah, I'll come right back down, Pastor. I have a deal you cannot refuse," using those same words. They go, "Okay, well, that kind of nails it." So he came down, and we met at a restaurant in town, and he told me the deal that I could not refuse. And the deal was that these 11 acres were owned as kind of non-family land. He owned them, was purchased by himself and two siblings, and was actually kind of an inheritance, I think. In any event, he said, "I would be willing to sell this to you on whatever the appraised value is." Now, I can assure you the appraised value for that property would have been like half or a third of what you could get on the open market, but he was interested. He was moving to Delaware to take a position there in politics and state health commissioner or whatever. And he just wanted to do it quickly and smoothly, and actually it was kind of a nice thing for the church. So he offered it to sell to us for the appraised value, and then give where we give 30% as a tax deductible donation to the church, 10% for each of the three siblings. And so we had it appraised, and it appraised at $80,000. We bought it for $80,000 minus the $24,000 of the tax write-ups to the three siblings. And so we cash out of hand $56,000. That's what we paid for this property. That honestly it was worth 4 times that, at least even at that time. So it just so happened that was on a Friday, and just so happened on that next night, it was my custom to go to the church building there, and I would pray, and most often I would do that by myself. But I felt really directed, aside from all this I didn't know about the property, to invite others to come. And so we had about 12 guys that joined with me on that evening. And so it was my first opportunity to really talk about it. I actually talked, I think, to a couple of council members, but I said, "Look," I said, here's the deal that's being offered to us, and what say ye?" And they all said, "Well, yeah, that sounds great, Pastor." And I said, "So it's going to cost us $56,000. And one of the guys said, "Well, I have a note on a property for $11,000. I would be willing to make the first donation to go toward the $56,000. And another guy that was there raised his hand and said, "I'll buy the note." So we all looked around. Okay. So the next day was Sunday, of course, and Sunday morning, the church treasurer and myself and these two brothers met up in the office, and one produced the note, signed it over. The other wrote a check for $11,000 and handed it to our treasurer, and that was it. So that was a pretty good sign. Now, of course, at that time we had not committed. We couldn't without a church vote, so we went through the council, and of course it was like unanimous, right all the way through. And I don't remember how quickly we raised the other 45,000, if it was even paid off by the time that I left to go overseas. But in any event, that was really a remarkable thing, and involved the favor of God, the favor of this doctor and his siblings, the favor of those two brothers who were able to get us off to a real good start with the $11,000, and the favor of the congregation to say yes and to agree to fund that. And so now suddenly we had an additional 11 contiguous acres, and it was a great provision. How thankful I was, and I still feel good about it just talking about it, as the Lord provided this property, and which at the time was not necessarily needed, but before too very long it was, and it's been used by the Lord. It's a good thing to see what's happened there, and God really got glorified and continues to from that provision. So let's all hang in there, and when you hear from the Lord, it may just be that He's going to say to you, "I got a deal you can't refuse," and He'll make it clear if that's true.